I follow the principle that a forced fruit may not be sweet, but it still quenches thirst. I forcefully occupied Willow for 60 years, on my deathbed. I was hooked up to a respirator. Staring at Willow sitting by my bedside, her face expressionless, I regretted it deeply. I asked, "We've been married for 60 years. Did you ever love me?" The next second, Willow rolled her eyes at me. I was speechless. I tiredly closed my eyes, despairingly saying, "Willow, I loved you for a lifetime, but I also delayed your lifetime. If I could live again, I would sever all ties with you, grow old and never meet again." When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn back to high school. In my past life, my burning heart had torched Willow's life, but it never melted that iceberg. This time, I decided to stay completely away from her, never to meet again. However, the very next day, Willow came to my school. She pinned me against the stairs, hands on her hips, coldly laughing and saying, "George, this time, you won't escape from my grasp." Chapter 1. I was reborn. Back to my senior year of high school. In the classroom, I looked around at the familiar teachers and classmates, feeling like I had just woken up from a long dream. In my past life, the Liu family business was failing, and our company was on the verge of bankruptcy. Forced by my father, Willow had to leave the person who pursued her and agree to be with me. After we got married, I did everything I could to make her happy, almost giving my life to her. I loved Willow far more than I loved myself. Willow didn't let me down. On the outside, she supported my career, becoming my capable assistant, helping both the Wang and Liu families' businesses grow. At home, she was gentle, considerate, and even bore me children. But after we got married, Willow never smiled again. I was the school's troublemaker, skilled in fighting and skipping classes. Willow had been at the top of the provincial exams for 2 years in a row, both talented and beautiful. Perhaps she had never looked down on me. Her body was by my side, but her heart was always with her childhood friend, a foreign exchange student. We lived in the same bed, but our dreams were different, and we both suffered. In this new life, I decided to forget Willow and live my own life well. But the next moment, my family called, saying they had arranged a meeting with a girl at the city library. This girl was a model student, also the school beauty of a nearby top high school, and they asked me to make the most of this opportunity. I didn't even need to hear her name. I knew it was Willow. In my past life, Willow was the school beauty of the provincial Key High School, and in order to pursue her, I went to that school and relentlessly chased her, even working with the Wang and Liu families to make sure we ended up together. But in this life, I didn't seek Willow out. How could she find me? Though confused, I decisively rejected my family's request. Then, my mother scolded me. She yelled, "The girl is beautiful, kind-hearted, and excellent in her studies. She's more than a match for you." She came to the house, specifically asking to see you. "If you don't meet her, I'll cut off all ties with you. I've already decided Willow will be my daughter-in-law. Whether you recognize me as your mother or not is irrelevant." The phone call ended, and I was left stunned in the wind. In my past life, Willow had been gentle and virtuous, and her relationship with my parents had always been very good. Under family pressure, I reluctantly agreed to the meeting. Before I left, my mother forced a Cartier diamond ring into my hand, reminding me to treat Willow warmly. Chapter 2. I sneered to myself the moment I stepped outside. I opened the expensive gift box, took out the ring inside, and replaced it with a cheap toy ring from a street vendor for 50 cents. To make Willow hate me even more, I intentionally dressed sloppily, dyed my hair green, and covered my body with tattoo stickers. Standing at the entrance of the city library, I noticed people casting strange looks at me. Willow was sitting by the window, the sunlight turning her hair into a golden hue, exuding an aloof, noble, and unreachable aura. As I entered, I caught a glimpse of my own ridiculous reflection in the mirror and couldn't help but smile bitterly. Maybe I didn't need to try to look ugly. Willow would probably dislike me just the same. The moment I stepped in, Willow looked up at me. Her eyes were filled with a smile, and her lips curved into a beautiful arc. I was speechless. Was she smiling? In my past life, I bought Willow luxury cars, designer watches, and bags. Yet she had never given me a good look. This was the first time I saw Willow smile at me, and it was so sweet. I was speechless. Why did she smile when I looked like this? Oh, could it be that I accidentally got it right? Does she like this kind of style? Her taste is really unique. She said, "George, this is a gift I got for you." Willow opened a tote bag, revealing a brand new Dragon Ball comic book with a signed cover by Akira Toriyama. Dragon Ball was my favorite comic. How did Willow know? Could it be a coincidence? I avoided Willow's gaze, forcing myself to calm down and not repeat the mistakes of my past life. I said, "I'm not interested in childish things. You can take it back." Willow didn't get angry at my refusal. She still smiled and asked, "What about the gift your mother asked you to prepare for me?" I handed her the Cartier box. Willow opened the gift box, pretending to be surprised. I mischievously said, "I bought it for 50 cents at a street stall. I don't know if it's to your liking." Willow calmly put the ring on her finger, gazing at me intently, half joking and half serious as she asked, "Are you proposing to me?" I froze. What kind of logic is this? I noticed that Willow had placed the plastic ring on her ring finger. If this had been in my past life, I would have been overjoyed and probably passed out. But a forced relationship isn't sweet, and this time, I decided to let Willow go and let myself go too. I maintained a straight face, pretending to be unhappy. I said, "Honestly, I'm not interested in you." Willow lowered her eyes, her smile fading as if she were upset. She stood up, stuffed the comic into my hands, and walked out of the bookstore. I held the signed comic, feeling dazed. Suddenly, a wooden handmade bookmark slipped out of the book. I picked up the bookmark and saw that Willow had written a sentence in familiar handwriting, even if they are old, with white hair. Their love is still as pure and fresh as when they first met. No need for words. A single glance is enough to understand each other's thoughts. I gazed at Willow's retreating figure, my emotions complex. She never took off the ring I gave her, not even when she left. What Willow's intentions were no longer mattered. From now on, we owed each other nothing, and we would never meet again. The next day at school, I was stunned when I saw Willow standing at the podium. How could she be here? Willow was accompanied by her childhood friend, Makoto, a foreign exchange student. The two of them stood at the front of the class, looking like a perfect match. The homeroom teacher introduced them. "These two are new transfer students, and they'll be spending their senior year with us." Amid the applause from the class, Willow and Makoto introduced themselves. Chapter 3. Both of them had impressive resumes, especially Makoto, who had gone abroad to study for 3 years as a math genius. During those 3 years, he won countless international awards and returned to the country filled with honors. I sat in the last row, in the corner by the wall, dozing off. One of the guys in the front row poked my arm and said, "George, the new girl is really pretty. Fair skin, beautiful face, she's definitely your type." I glanced at him impatiently and said, "Get lost." The teacher pointed at one of them and said, "You, move back. Make space for the new student. You two have good grades. Sitting together will help you motivate each other." I was feeling irritated, no matter what. In my past life, Willow was my wife. Seeing her sitting with another man, all lovey-dovey, made me feel uncomfortable, a pain I couldn't put into words. Unexpectedly, in the midst of envious glances from the others, Willow walked over to me, holding her backpack. She still had that sweet smile on her face as she said, "George, please move aside. I'm going to sit next to you." Makoto at the podium was stunned. He said, "Willow, if you sit next to him, what about me?" Willow didn't even turn her head and replied, "Do whatever you want. It's none of my business." I didn't pay any attention to her and just laid my head down on the desk, quickly falling asleep. When I woke up, I found a blanket draped over me. Willow was sitting next to me, resting her chin on her hand, smiling at me. She said, "I even brought a pillow for you. Do you want to use it?" I was stunned. I quickly grabbed the blanket and shoved it back. The guys in the back row were all grinning mischievously, but Willow didn't mind their teasing at all. Soon, the bell rang for class to end. Makoto walked over to Willow's seat, looking furious. He said, "Willow, we've known each other since we were kids. You won't sit with me, but you're sitting with this trash from the back row." I didn't care about Makoto chasing after Willow, but he shouldn't be spewing nonsense about me. I grabbed Makoto by the collar and asked, "What the hell did you say?" A few of my friends stepped forward, ready to fight him, but Makoto wasn't afraid at all. With an air of superiority, he said, "You guys in the back row, always messing around and never studying, aren't you just trash in society? If you dare touch me, I'll go to the teacher and get all of you expelled." With the college entrance exams approaching, none of us wanted to get into trouble for fighting. I stopped my friends and let go of Makoto's collar. Makoto was even more smug, saying, "You guys don't even have the guts to fight. What a bunch of trash." But the next moment, slap. A crisp sound rang through the room. Willow had slapped Makoto across the face with clean precision. Not only Makoto, but I was also stunned by Willow's slap. Makoto covered his face, almost in disbelief, and asked, "Willow, you hit me for this trash?" Willow wiped the smile off her face and coldly said, "George may be playful, but his character and personality are good. He never insults or belittles others, unlike some so-called elite people, who like to call others trash with every breath. Besides, people sitting in the back row will probably do better than you in the future." Makoto, who had been slapped and scolded, glared at me with hatred while clutching his face before storming off. I couldn't believe it. Willow actually slapped Makoto for me. Chapter 4. After thinking carefully, I realized what was going on. By this time, the Liu family was deep in debt and urgently needed funds to stay afloat. Willow must have been sent by her father to seek a partnership with my family. I decided to say, "Willow, I know your family is in trouble and needs financial help. If you want to cooperate with my family, I won't stop you, but don't bother me after this." After speaking, I called up a few friends and headed to the playground to relax. Willow sat at her desk, head lowered, lost in thought. When we reached the playground, One of my buddies asked. George, with a beautiful girl like that chasing after you, aren't you even a little moved? I was irritated and didn't respond. In my previous life, after Willow and I got together, her mood was affected, and her grades plummeted. She didn't get into her dream university. That incident had always troubled her deeply. Being with her would only delay both our lives. We would never be happy. With that thought, I dialed my dad's number. I wanted him to quickly help the Liu family out, promoting the partnership, so that Willow wouldn't bother me again. To my surprise, my dad sounded confused. He said, "Son, what are you talking about? The Liu family's crisis was solved 2 weeks ago. It has nothing to do with us. I heard it was actually your sister-in-law who helped solve it." I hung up the phone, completely baffled. My dad's sister-in-law was Willow. How did she manage to help her family solve the crisis? And if the Liu family didn't have any issues anymore, why was she still seeking me out? Suddenly, a hand rested on my shoulder. I quickly turned around and saw Makoto standing there, his face full of resentment. He threatened. "George, listen to me. Willow is mine. Stay away from her from now on." I was speechless. I said, "What the hell are you talking about? When did I ever get close to her?" I thought to myself. Since we met, it's always been Willow trying to get closer to me, although I still didn't understand her reasons. One of my friends shoved Makoto away and cursed, "Are you asking for a beating?" I didn't want to fight with this idiot, so I walked away with my friends. As we left, Makoto didn't forget to warn me, "Stay away from Willow." Soon, a group of people from outside the school appeared on the playground, arranging heart-shaped candles in the center. Makoto stood in the middle of the candles, holding a bouquet of flowers, shouting Willow's name loudly. A crowd of curious onlookers followed suit, chanting along. Amid the chanting, Willow appeared at the stairs and walked down, stepping into the circle of candles with Makoto. I stood at a distance, bitterness filling my heart. All the moments from my previous life, the love, marriage, and the years we spent together, flashed before my eyes like a revolving lantern. In this very moment, how I wished that, before I died in my past life, I could have heard Willow say, "I loved you." If she had just said those words, I would have rushed to her, taken her away from Makoto, and never let go. But instead, I was standing here, helpless, watching her with another man. But then, the next moment, from across the playground, Willow, to the astonishment of the crowd, threw the bouquet Makoto gave her to the ground and kicked over the candles that surrounded them. She lifted her delicate white skirt and sprinted in my direction. Chapter 5. Willow tilted her head, a smile on her face as she asked, "If I accept flowers from other men, don't you feel heartbroken?" I was taken aback. Was Willow accepting flowers from Makoto and deliberately stalling, just to provoke me? In her white dress, pure and adorable, Willow had a devastating effect on me. I felt flustered, and without thinking, I turned and fled. Willow quickly caught up to me, gently tugging on my sleeve as she asked, "Did you see the bookmark I gave you? Do you know what that message means?" I couldn't face Willow, so I quickened my pace and replied evasively, "I don't know." Willow responded, "No, you do know." As we reached the stairwell, Willow stepped in front of me, grabbing both of my hands, and in a fit of anger, pinned me against the wall. She snorted and said, "George, don't think that just because you've been reborn, things are different. In the last life, you took my whole life. This time, I want all of yours. In this life, and the next, I will cling to you. I will be your woman. George, forever." I looked at Willow, seeing her angry yet determined expression, and felt completely lost. In my past life, she had been distant and cold, always keeping everyone at arm's length. Whether it was me or anyone else around her, we rarely saw any emotion on Willow's face. She always carried the cold, aloof aura of a goddess. After we got married, she focused on running the household and raising our children, but we barely had any emotional connection. As unbelievable as it seemed for Willow to reveal her true feelings to me in this life, I couldn't shake the thought. I gently pushed her hands away, bowed my head in struggle, and after a long moment, I said, "Willow, marrying me in the last life caused you so much pain. I saw the sorrow on your face, and it broke my heart too. Now that Liu family's problems have been solved, there's no need for my family's help. So from now on, you go your way, and I'll go mine. In this life, and the next, we'll never meet again." The angry look on Willow's face faded, replaced by a sense of hurt. She said, "George, is it just because I was a little cold to you that you're acting like this? In the last life, you never once raised your voice to me. Now that we're reborn, just a few days in, you not only yell at me, you're bullying me too." Willow's voice became more and more pitiful as tears started streaming down her face. I had pampered Willow in my past life. She not only took care of my family and parents, but she also bore children for me. If there was no love, it would have been impossible. The reason I was rejecting Willow wasn't because I didn't care about her. I just didn't want her to go through the same painful life again, marrying someone who didn't love her and suffering for a lifetime. I turned to leave, waving my hand as I said, "When you get back, I'll move your seat next to Makoto. From now on, don't come near me." Willow stopped me again, her voice full of anger as she said, "George, why are you rejecting me? Have you changed your heart in just a few days since we've been reborn?" I couldn't face Willow, who was crying uncontrollably. If I did, I'd probably soften and give in. I bypassed her, saying as I walked away, "My heart hasn't changed. Yours hasn't changed either." Chapter 6. My eyes are full of you, yet your heart has never had me. In this life, I'm tired. I've given up. I'll find an ordinary girl who sees only me, and live a simple life. Willow stopped chasing me, but I could faintly hear her sobbing. A few times, I almost turned around to hold her, to try and rekindle what we once had. But for her happiness, and for my own sanity, I forced myself to return to the classroom. I packed Willow's bag and moved her seat to Makoto's. After finishing everything, the bell for afternoon self-study rang. Makoto, with a disheveled appearance, entered the classroom. When he saw Willow's bag on the empty seat beside him, his face turned bright red with excitement. Looking like a pig that had been stewed, Willow entered the classroom with a gloomy expression, silent, and instinctively started walking towards my side. Excited, Makoto stepped in front of her. He said, "Willow, I knew you wouldn't refuse me. Earlier, you were just too nervous. That's why you ran away shyly. You regret it now. So you moved your seat next to me, right?" Willow shot Makoto an angry look and pointed at her bag, asking, "Who did this?" The whole class was buzzing, gossiping, trying to figure out who moved Willow's stuff. In all the years I've known Willow, I've never seen her this angry. I couldn't understand why she would be mad that I helped her sit with her childhood friend, Makoto. In my previous life, if Willow ever got angry, I would always apologize no matter what. Seeing her hands tremble, I was once again submissive. Just like before, I stood up obediently. I said, "It was me." Makoto and the rest of the class looked at me with disbelief. The next moment, slap. Willow slapped Makoto hard across the face. Makoto, holding his burning cheek, looked completely stunned and aggrieved, asking, "Willow, why are you hitting me? He's the one who moved your bag." Willow coldly replied, "If you ever bother me again, I'll hit you again." She grabbed her bag, stormed over to me, and stopped in front of me. I took a step back and said, "Well, you hit him, so you can't hit me now, right?" Willow threw her bag down in front of me, fuming, "Put everything back in its place, immediately." My friends in the back looked at me. In high school, I was known as the troublemaker. If I had any conflict with someone, it was always solved with fists. So, when I stood up, everyone cleared out, not wanting to get caught in the crossfire. But the next moment, I obediently opened Willow's bag and placed her books back in the drawer. I arranged her stationery and notebooks neatly as they were before. Then, with a smile, I asked, "Miss Liu, is this okay?" The guys in the back looked at me with scorn. Willow, still fuming, sat down and said, "If you do this again, I really will be angry." Chapter 7. I instinctively let out a sigh of relief. In my past life, I never saw Willow this angry. She was always cold and distant, never losing her temper. Seeing this drastic change in her mood made me genuinely afraid. Moreover, I couldn't bring myself to hurt a single hair on her head. One of my friends, wearing a mischievous grin, leaned over and asked, "So you're learning to care for your wife now?" I shook my fist and replied, "I can't hit her, but you think I can't hit you?" During self-study, the homeroom teacher suddenly pushed the door open. A 60-year-old woman, with a grim face, slapped the podium loudly. She said, "Who confessed on the playground this afternoon? Stand up." Both Willow and Makoto stood up at the same time. When the teacher saw them, her attitude immediately softened, and she even smiled. She said, "Oh, it's you two. You both have good grades, but this is the critical moment for the college entrance exam. You can't let early romance get in the way of your studies." Willow retorted, "Teacher, I'm not in a relationship with him. He's the one who keeps bothering me even though he knows I like someone else." The teacher was stunned and asked, "Willow, can you tell me who the person you like is?" Without hesitation, Willow pointed straight at me. The teacher's face darkened again. She scolded, "George is the troublemaker of the class, always slacking off. How could you associate with someone like him?" Willow stood her ground and replied, "Teacher, I don't think grades represent everything. Compared to grades, character is what matters most." A group of students with bad grades in the back suddenly cheered. The teacher's face twisted in disgust, like she'd just eaten a dead fly. She pointed at us and angrily shouted, "Both of you go stand in the office, now." I was unjustly dragged into this and had to go to the office with Willow. On the way, I sensed something odd in Willow's words. I asked, "Willow, when you said character is more important than grades, does that mean Makoto's character has issues?" Willow nodded. Yes. When she mentioned Makoto, Willow didn't hide the disdain in her eyes. She said, "I've known Makoto for a long time. He's never been serious about life. When he was studying abroad, he even got a girl pregnant. Later, the girl managed to get a visa and came to find Makoto, but he completely denied everything. That girl couldn't afford a plane ticket back to her country, almost committing suicide in the hospital. It was only because I couldn't bear to watch that I helped that poor girl return home. I suddenly understood. So all those times you were running to the hospital because of Makoto's situation, it was because of this. Willow said. Otherwise. A wave of regret washed over me. When Willow had told me she was going to the hospital because of Makoto, I thought it was because he had fallen ill and she had gone there to take care of him. When I was sick, I always went with the housekeeper. But when Makoto was sick, Willow would drop everything and go take care of him for half a month. Every time I thought of this, my heart felt like it was being torn apart. After everything was cleared up, Willow's eyes grew even more sorrowful as she said, "So in your heart, I'm just that kind of loose woman." I quickly waved my hand. "I've never said that." Chapter 8. Willow let out a long sigh. Her voice soft as she said, "You always blame me for not being open with you, but what about you? You never express yourself either. When something happens, you always overthink it in your mind, but never take the time to ask me directly." The homeroom teacher pushed the door open, her face even darker than before. She scolded, "I told you two to stand in the office to reflect, not to flirt and talk about love. Do you even realize what you've done wrong?" Neither Willow nor I said anything. After all, we were just in a relationship. It wasn't like we'd done something terribly wrong. I had never seen anyone fail to get into a prestigious university because of being in a relationship, nor had I seen anyone get in just because they weren't in one. The homeroom teacher scolded us for a while, but neither Willow nor I reacted. She trembled with rage, shaking as she pointed at us and yelled, "Tomorrow at the school assembly, you two will each write a 3,000-word self-criticism and read it out loud on stage. If you don't, I'll record it as a major disciplinary action." We remained indifferent. With our grades, we could get into any school we wanted, and unless we were expelled, no disciplinary action would affect us. After school, the housekeeper had already parked the car outside. At that moment, my mom called me, saying they had made a big feast at home and wanted me to bring Willow along. Although Willow and I had cleared up some misunderstandings, the 60 years of distance between us couldn't be erased so easily. But in this life, I was willing to give Willow another chance, and myself one as well. I asked, "We're having a family dinner tonight. Do you want to come along?" Willow didn't answer directly. Instead, she smiled and asked, "Are you inviting me?" Before I could respond, the sound of a motorcycle revved up in the distance. Makoto, removing his helmet, once again clung to Willow like a stubborn piece of gum, relentlessly pestering her. He said, "Willow, I'm throwing a party tonight. Do you want to come?" Willow hesitated before saying, "George, you go ahead. I'll stay here with him." Hearing that, my heart sank. Perhaps she still didn't love me. What she had said to me while we were standing in the office was probably just compensation for the suffering I endured in my past life. I no longer lingered. I got into the car and drove away alone. When I got home, the table was full of delicious dishes, but my parents were still busy in the kitchen. My mom wiped her hands and came out, greeting me enthusiastically at the door. When she saw that I was alone, she asked with a puzzled look, "Where's Willow? Why didn't she come with you?" I replied, "She's not coming." Once the meal was ready, my parents sat down. The once lively family dinner felt heavy with tension. My dad, with a somewhat interrogative tone, said, "We've all met Willow. Whether it's her personality, temperament, or appearance, she's perfect. She clearly has feelings for you. Otherwise, she wouldn't have come to our house. Did you do something to upset her?" Willow refusing to get into my car and staying with Makoto made me feel uneasy. With my parents questioning, my mood only worsened. I said, "Mom, Dad, Willow doesn't like me. She's still in love with her childhood sweetheart, and if we end up together, we'll never find happiness." Chapter 9. I then told my parents everything that happened today. Both of them were stunned when they heard my words. My mom hesitated for a long time before she incredulously said, "Willow, she shouldn't be the kind of person you're describing." I was so angry that my hand was shaking as I replied, "If she's not that kind of person, then why won't she even get in my car?" Suddenly, I heard Willow's voice from outside. "Sorry, I'm late." I was frozen in surprise. Wasn't Willow with Makoto? Why was she here at my house? Willow struggled to carry a big bag of gifts into the house, and my dad kicked me, saying, "Why are you still standing there? Go help her carry the things." Reluctantly, I helped Willow with her things. At the dinner table, my parents still sided with me. My mom subtly asked, "Willow, why didn't you come back with George after school?" Willow calmly replied, "Mom, the reason I'm late is because I didn't want George to feel jealous. He's a bit petty, always thinking there's something between me and a guy from class. I couldn't help it. So after school today, I made plans with that guy to talk it through and tell him not to bother me anymore. Otherwise, George would feel uncomfortable seeing us together." After hearing this, my dad kicked me in the butt. He angrily scolded, "A real man wouldn't be so petty. You go ahead and serve Willow some food, and apologize to her." I was still reluctant to move, questioning Willow. "What did you and Makoto talk about today? How did it go?" Willow casually said, "Not much, really. I just slapped him and told him to stop bothering me from now on. If he shows up again in front of me, I'll hit him again." I was speechless. How did she become a violent beauty? I swallowed and begrudgingly served Willow some food. The meal went on with my parents and Willow chatting happily, and in the evening, she stayed over in the guest room. That night, I tossed and turned in bed. Willow had changed a lot in this life. Makoto, who had once been close to her, had become a pariah. Everything seemed to be going in a better direction, and even I couldn't help but want to reconcile with Willow. But there was one thing that still bothered me. In my past life, I spent 60 years with Willow, but I never warmed her cold heart. Now, in this life, she was the one actively pursuing me, even clinging to me desperately. How could someone who didn't love me for 60 years suddenly change? Or was it possible that Willow had some other reason for staying by my side? I couldn't stop turning it over in my mind. The next morning, when I woke up, I suddenly remembered something. Damn, I forgot to write the self-criticism. Our homeroom teacher was a grumpy old woman going through menopause. With a bad temper, anyone who went against her would inevitably be criticized every other day. Today, Willow and I had to read our 3,000-word self-criticism in front of the entire school assembly. If we messed this up and embarrassed the old lady, she would surely hold a grudge against us. Chapter 10. To avoid being on the receiving end of the teacher's anger, I didn't even eat breakfast. I quickly searched online for a self-criticism template and copied it. Even the housekeeper and the driver were roped in, each of them copying a piece in my handwriting. By the time we were ready to leave, I had at least finished the 3,000 words. At school, we went straight to the playground to line up. Every Monday morning, there was a flag-raising ceremony, followed by a school-wide assembly. At the assembly, aside from praising a few top students, there would be criticism for those who broke the rules. As we lined up, Willow intentionally stood next to me. With only a minute left before our turn to speak in front of thousands of people, I nervously asked, "Have you finished writing your self-criticism?" Willow replied calmly, "I haven't written a word." What? I almost dropped my jaw. Then what are you planning to do? With a smile in her eyes, Willow said, "You'll find out soon enough." The speeches on the stage were coming to an end. We only had less than a minute left before it was our turn. If I couldn't say a word in front of thousands of people, I would definitely be embarrassed. Afterward, I'd probably get scolded by the teacher again. I hesitated for a moment, then handed my self-criticism to Willow. I said, "Just read this. I'll take the blame for both of us, no matter what." I had once been her husband, and I had to take this hit for her. Unexpectedly, Willow completely ignored the paper and didn't want to take it. I was so angry that my eyebrows twitched. If you end up crying from the scolding later, don't blame me. Soon, Willow and I were called up to the stage. At the teacher's signal, I started reading my self-criticism without any emotion. With 3,000 words, I quickly finished reading, hoping to pass by without trouble. Once I was done, the microphone was handed to Willow. The teacher said, "Willow, it's your turn." Willow took the microphone, but she didn't pull out a self-criticism. She turned to look at me, and in her eyes, there was a glint of determination. She said, "George, I don't know when I fell in love with you, but when I finally realized it, and when I thought I was going to lose you, I understood how much I love you. Seeing you lying in bed, about to leave me, I can't even describe the regret in my heart. I wanted to say I love you, but I always felt like I hadn't done enough to deserve it. You gave me 60 years of chances, and I never cherished them. After you left, I regretted every second, 1,000 times over, but it was too late. So, on the day of your funeral, I chose to come into this world with you." By the time she finished speaking, Willow was already in tears. I stood there, stunned, as if struck by lightning. Did she just say she wanted to die with me? Willow, who had never shown me a kind face in 60 years, was willing to die for me. After thinking it over, it seemed there was only one reason she could be here. Otherwise, how could the healthy and unscathed Willow have passed away within 7 days after my death? When I looked at her again, I suddenly felt my heart tighten. It was as though Willow had never truly understood me, just as I had never really understood her. After all, how could someone who didn't love me give me children, stay with me for a lifetime, and never leave? Chapter 11. As I was lost and unsure of what to do, Willow grabbed my arm and forcefully crashed into my chest. She leaned in close to my ear, speaking in a voice only the two of us could hear. "In the past life, it was you who pursued me, but I hurt you this badly. This life, let me win you back." As soon as her words fell, Willow kissed me, in front of thousands of onlookers. We kissed for what felt like more than 10 minutes. This bold move caused the nearby teachers to forget about stopping us. After a long while, when the teachers had seen enough, they finally pulled us apart. We were told that our parents would be notified and that we had to stay home to reflect for a week. During this week of reflection, I wasn't particularly concerned. Although kissing on the stage had practically trampled on school rules, it wasn't exactly a major issue. After all, kissing wasn't illegal. Once the 7 days passed and we returned to school, all we had to do was write another self-criticism. However, the severity of the situation was far worse than I imagined. The week quickly passed, and as I got into the car to return to school, I couldn't help but feel excited at the thought of seeing Willow again. After all, It was the first time Willow had kissed me so actively in all these years of marriage, but when I returned to school, I found Willow's seat was empty. After asking around, I learned that someone had leaked the news of Willow's kiss to the media, causing a huge stir. Because of the negative attention, Willow had been suspended from school. As for whether her expulsion was inevitable, that was still under discussion. I was shocked and immediately rushed to Willow's house to find out what had happened. When I arrived, Willow had been crying so much her eyes were red, and she ran up to hug me. The kiss she had given me was now all over the media, and the situation was spiraling out of control. If this became a public scandal, Willow would definitely be expelled. In her past life, Willow's biggest dream was to attend a prestigious university. Now, she wanted to make up for the regrets of her previous life, but if she were expelled, she would never have the chance to achieve that dream. I took Willow's hand and promised her that I would handle the situation. In her past life, she had always supported me unconditionally, whether it was business-related matters or family issues. Thanks to her help, I was able to manage the family business successfully. Our children had also excelled in both academics and character, becoming the pillars of the company. This life, it was my turn to support Willow. Willow curled up in my arms, sobbing, like a little drenched kitten. When I returned home, I immediately started investigating the mastermind behind the media hype. Logically, what happened at school shouldn't have caused such a strong social impact. The reason it became a hot topic was because there was someone pulling the strings behind the scenes. Before I could finish my investigation, Makoto found me. After class, he secretly called me to an empty staircase. With a sly grin, Makoto said, "George, aren't you so deeply in love with Willow? Now, I'm giving you a chance to let her return to class." It was obvious Makoto was behind this. Suppressing my anger, I asked, "What do you want?" Makoto arrogantly replied, "I want you to admit in front of the media that it wasn't Willow who kissed you, but that you assaulted her." Chapter 12. What a vicious scheme. If I followed Makoto's demands, not only would I be expelled, but I'd probably face criminal charges and leave a permanent record. Furious, I clenched my fist to strike him, but he pulled out a hidden camera from his chest pocket. Makoto arrogantly taunted, "Go ahead. Hit me if you dare. I'll just tell the teachers afterward." I reluctantly lowered my fist and turned back toward the classroom. In the following days, I began using the Wong family's influence to suppress the media storm that Makoto had stirred up with his money. The situation quickly cooled down, and no one seemed to care about it anymore. Soon after, my father allocated funds to build a new library on an abandoned piece of land at school. Once these two things were done, the school canceled Willow's suspension, allowing her to return to campus. Makoto, on the other hand, didn't escape his fate from the previous life. He was expelled after getting into serious trouble while studying abroad. The college entrance exam soon arrived. Willow and I both achieved excellent scores and were admitted to Tsinghua University, becoming alumni. The regrets from our past lives were finally resolved, and we could make up for them in this life.